Welcome to the SMB Community Podcast with hosts Amy Babinchek, James Kernan, and Carl Polachek. Produced by Kernan Consulting and for the international MSP community. We are dedicated to making every IT professional a successful IT professional.
Good morning, James. And good morning, everybody. It is morning when we're recording this, so you get a good morning from us. Good morning. I feel like today I am finally rested up from attending your MASTERMIND event. I don't know. I was exhausted, and I don't have nearly as much work to do at that event than you did. So,
Well, thank you for being there. Great event. We had a lot of fun. As you know, I got in there late. My flight got canceled twice, and there were a lot of storms in the Midwest the day I was trying to leave, and then even the day I was trying to leave the next day. But I did make it there. But yes, I am exhausted as well, because I think for about a 3-day time stretch, I maybe got 10 hours between the 3 days. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep. So, but it's a lot of fun.
Airline travel is no fun. I hate it. You know, I love to travel. I hate to fly. I mean, fly because I have to, but not.
Southwest, which now I'm going to call Southworst, they at least they stepped up to the plate and sent me $600 in coupons to buy more tickets from them, which was probably pretty smart. But yeah, tough travel, getting back and forth there. But boy, it was worth it. We had just a wonderful time down there. I think one of the highlights was that Tesla Cybertruck that everybody got to drive and take photos with and play around. And even though the one of our attendees, I won't name any names, but he is from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, if he's listening, almost got a speeding ticket in the parking lot because he punched the Tesla to see how fast he could go in this empty parking lot and burned a lot of rubber. So that was pretty funny. People's reaction. Well, lots of stuff to chat about. Where do you want to start first today?
We do have an MSP question of the week that we wanted to talk about too. The question is, how do you know where to draw the line on cybersecurity? And I'll give you the example that cropped up the other day. You do a vulnerability scan, and you get back 300 vulnerabilities. What do you need to do now? What do you do next? And the answer to this question is not, I start patching all 300 vulnerabilities.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like the obvious answer. But the thing is, the scanner is going to come back with 300 vulnerabilities, only 10 of which are exploitable.
Mm.
So you need a vulnerability scanner that's not just going to count vulnerabilities for you, but that is going to tell you where the risk actually is. And the risk is in those 10 that are actually exploitable.
Right.
So we as IT people are getting just bombarded with information, too much information overload. What you really needed to know was what are the exploitable vulnerabilities in my environment? So now you've got your 10. Your people can handle patching 10 different vulnerabilities in the environment. They can't handle patching 300. They would just sit there and churn and burn, and you wouldn't actually be providing any value to your client by patching all of those. So, so that's the quick answer to that question. We can get in all sorts of different examples and different scenarios and different pieces of the cybersecurity puzzle. And we'll probably end up talking about this, as we go forward here. We'll talk about different aspects of it. But that's the first and quick one, right? You draw the line where the exploits end.
Yep. Yeah, and you want to be efficient and effective with the resources that you have and the budget that the customer has, and attacking the exploitable makes a lot of sense,
Yeah, patching all of those will make you feel like you're doing something, but you're not actually doing anything.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yep. And I think that's perfect because I know this topic has come up before, and that conversation can go in circles and circles and in circles of how much is too much and how much is not enough. And that's the tricky part of what we do as technology consultants. Again, we need to help make that decision for our customer. We first need to educate them, and then help them make that right decision to protect them. So that is a tricky question.
Absolutely. So let's talk about news. You saw an article that said that cyber insurance costs are going down. And both you and I read that headline and said, I don't think so.
It's, penalty flag. But actually, the article itself, we'll post this in the show notes. It was a Reuters article in the technology news section. And what was interesting is, and this made me feel a little bit better, but it makes sense that if you're implementing the right security tools and policy, they were citing examples and cases of where their cybersecurity insurance does go down. So I love that. We're going to post that up in the show notes, but I would encourage you read that and check that out, because that's exactly what we should be doing for our customers as cybersecurity gurus in charge of their network. We need to figure out a way for them to make more money or save more money with the use of technology. And this is a way that they can save money on these policies. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, and saving money always went over really well with my clients. Like, hey, we've been able to save you some money here. And yeah, if you go to your insurance, if you have air-gapped backups, if you have MFA on all users, if you have, if you're using SaaS apps rather than local servers, that's actually going to reduce your costs. If you're doing pen testing, that reduces your costs. So some of it is investing in different things, but you can get that cyber insurance costs down. And actually at your event, there was a topic where we talked about cyber insurance. And, the guys we were chatting afterwards with a couple of them, and they were chatting about the cyber insurance, saying, yeah, my clients don't want to buy cyber insurance, da, 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 da. And I said, you know what, I have an easy solution for that. So if you're having trouble getting your clients to understand the importance for them to buy cyber insurance, let me give you the secret sauce. What I did is I sat down and I said to my clients, I have cyber insurance. I'm a $2 million company. I've got $2 million worth of cyber insurance. You're a $20 million company. I can't insure you. So if something goes wrong here, you've got to have your own insurance, because there are no deep pockets over here on my side of the table. Yeah. I couldn't buy that much of insurance if I wanted to, right? Right. So I insure me, you insure you. And that sort of made it crystal clear to them, like, oh, yeah, I should probably think about that,
It's a great tip right there, everybody, that Amy just shared with you. I love how simple that was.
Simple, honest, straightforward. I mean, that's kind of the best solution for all kinds of things, most everything in the world, actually. But yeah, I mean, you just make it crystal clear. Like, this is what it is. If you haven't thought about cyber insurance, you might want to, because I can't insure your business.
Exactly. No, that's an interesting article. So check that out. We'll drop that up in the show notes. All
right. Auto dealerships, they are still suffering. Still in the news, still down. And I feel for them. I feel for any business that's down for this length of time, because how do they recover, right? I mean, forever in business continuity, we were usually talking about that in backups. It's those stats, I mean, try to pull them out of the recesses of my brain, but it was, something like if a small business is down for 3 days, their odds of recovering are, approaching zero. Because it's not just about the sales that you missed. It's about regaining that momentum, about recreating the data that is missing. There's all kinds of things around that. And in the case of dealerships too, it's probably rebuilding consumer confidence in you. Yeah. Huge, huge problem. But the conversation is really morphed into, did they create it themselves because they all use one vendor? So it sort of becomes a monopoly conversation, right? There's one big vendor in that space, and there's probably some small ones, but there's one big one that is so dominant. And when they go down, the whole industry goes down. I don't know what we do about that. Can we really chase down every monopoly that exists in the whole country? I mean, this is kind of a small segment of the overall set of businesses. It does make you wonder, though, how many other industries have this same problem.
I think there's a lot of them. And just think, Amy, is kind of interesting. I'm just hearing you talk and kind of phrase the situation. Isn't our responsibility as technology consultants is to educate clients and to remove their single point of failures, right? And
but are you then compromising it by not giving them the best solution in the marketplace? I mean, this is a really complex question, right?
Oh, it is. And I guess where I'm going is I'm not recommending to switch to a different tool just because that's the big 800-pound gorilla. But I would just say there should have been other options of how can I run my business if you guys go down? Can I get access to the data? How can we process transactions? If you go down, we can't go down. So that's kind of where I meant, where I was wanting, I would lead the conversation that way.
Yeah, that would have been a good conversation to have. And that type of business continuity would be a great thing for that vendor to provide.
Right.
Yeah. If something happened and you couldn't access our services, here's what you would do for the interim period. Right.
What a great add-on idea. So, $1 short, but
yeah, for sure. Yeah, no kidding. There are a lot of dollars short right now.
So like that's a perfect example. Those are the kind of questions and conversations that would be good for you, MSPs around the world, to have with your customers. Understand the tools they use, the people, the processes, and then protect them from making, decisions that, at that point of failure.
You can sort of change that conversation, right? A lot of MSPs get stuck because they'll say, well, our customer says that they're too small to be hacked. It's like, what if it's not them? What if it's their main line of business app that got hacked?
Right.
Now what? Because as we see, that can shut you down.
That was actually something at the conference I had learned how to respond to that question. And one of the replies someone said were, a lot of these hackers are coming from overseas, and think of what the annual pay rate is, the average annual pay for a lot of these hackers. And I think in Russia, the average U.S. citizen or the average Russian person would make what's equivalent to $10,000 or $12,000 a year U.S. And, if they think a $2 million business isn't worth chasing after and getting a $50,000 ransom, that's a game changer right there for that person. So
it is. The risk reward calculation is so different. That is why you see them coming out of Russia, coming out of African countries.
Yeah.
Starting to slow down a little bit coming out of Asian countries because their wages have been going up. Right. It's not that the Russian citizen making $12,000 a year is poor. They're not. They're average. But if you can suddenly make 6 times your average and 6 times your salary in one transaction,
right?
I mean, that's incredibly attractive.
That's eye-opening. So the small businesses are vulnerable. So again, that's something we need to be educating our customers on. So
yeah, you're not small to the hacker.
Right.
Yeah.
So interesting stuff. Interesting stuff.
Well, I wanted to tell our audience about Defender course that I have that just opened up for registration, and you can get it over at thirdtier.net. So we on over there. What it is, we do training different. And so I call these learning groups, and it's going to run for about 6 months for the rest of the year, essentially. And we are going to run into some holiday issues at the end of the year, but
right,
we will make it. And so we meet. We're going to meet every other week for 2 hours each time. There is a textbook that we're going to be largely following, but the instructors are going to bring some of their own material as well to add to it. And in between those times, what's going to happen is the way this group works is you will get assigned reading material and lab material. And then when we come to the class for the first hour, the instructor is going to teach new stuff. On the second hour, we're going to review that lab material, answer questions about what you read, see what problems you ran into when you were attempting to deploy this, because we want you to deploy this. And we're also developing SOPs. So when you get done with this class, it's not like you took a Defender class and then you went home and you forgot everything you learned and you never got around to implementing it in your business, because that's what happens. This is 6 months of you practicing, deploying all the things that we're learning, developing those SOPs so you are ready to roll at the end of it. And you're going to know it. You're going to know it. You're definitely going to know that material by the end.
Yeah. Hands-on training. I love it. We need more of that.
Yeah. And time to soak it in.
Right.
The hardest thing for us as MSPs is to figure out how to implement it, right? How are we going to do it? Like, oh, great, we learned all this really great stuff. How are we going to actually implement that? Like, how do we roll it into our services? How do we, what are we going to trip on? We're going to get through all that stuff as part of this.
And I too run my training classes, the sales marketing training, and then the leadership management trainings that we do. I like doing it every other week. So then you have time to kind of implement what you've learned and digest it, and then do some research, and then come back to learn more next time. So I think that's perfect cadence to just not learn, but retain.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. A friend of mine who's a professional trainer, I was describing this thing to her and she's like, oh, we call that soak time. Like, okay, soak time. That's what it is. It's got soak time.
Perfect.
I just mentioned we're going to do 2 courses. One is going to run in the mornings. One is going to run in the 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern time. And the Paul Schneckenberg is in Australia. He is a professional trainer in cybersecurity areas in Microsoft 365, and he's going to be teaching that evening course. He is the lead instructor for this. And then I will be teaching the morning course. So you've got choices. It's all recorded. You'll have access to all the materials and the presentation and the book and the courses and the SOPs and all of it. So it's really good. We ran one just like this with Intune, and the reviews have been just phenomenal. So people are loving it. So thirdtier.net, get signed up for that. I hope to see you guys in the class. Yep. And James, I love talking to you on Monday mornings. It kicks off my week, and I hope our listeners all feel that it kicks off their week, because I enjoy our conversations every single Monday.
Yep. I love it. Yeah, I feel the same way. And it's a fresh start of the week for us. And again, we'd love to hear from you. We're getting more and more engagement, so we want the more the merrier. So any questions, comments, concerns, anything that you have, if you got a question of the week, just email me at james@kernanconsulting.com. We'd love to get that on the program, and we will do our best to answer that for you.
That's a wrap up for today. We'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.